I want to go into the underdog stories going into training camp. A few players to definitely talk about, not the obvious ones like Saquon Barkley or even Quinyon Mitchell or some of the, even first round picks or guys that we know they're going to make the team. But the stories that I'm excited about that are really trying to claw their way up this roster to make a really big push to be that guy that you wouldn't expect to start, or that guy that you'd be like, man, like who would have thought that this was going to happen? So I want to go over a few of those stories that I think is exciting for me going into training camp. So let's get into all of it.
Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? I hope everyone's having a fantastic day. I hope everyone's enjoying their weekday, weekend. Hope everyone is having a good summer. Now, we are waiting for training camp. We still have a while to go and a lot to talk about still, because there is a lot to go over regarding the Philadelphia Eagles and the stories that I'm excited to see, like some of these players that you're not expecting to maybe make it, maybe make this roster, and maybe say, holy crap, this is a low risk, high reward type signing. A guy works his ass off coming to the Eagles, whether it's a signing, a draft pick, doesn't matter what it is, and really just takes off. And I think one of the guys that is the biggest mystery that I just feel like something good is going to happen, and I hope I'm right, is obviously Jalyx Hunt. I mean, from a small school, obviously, a safety turned defensive end slash linebacker at 6'3", 252 pounds, okay? 6'3", 252. Guy can move, guy could, cover an open space, he can play off ball. I want to see what it looks like with the pads off, with the pads on, because when you're in mini camp, when you're in OTAs, I don't put too much emphasis into defensive linemen because they're not hitting, they're not doing anything. They're pretty much just not doing much of anything but just flying around bags. But you can see athleticism when it's there, and I think Jalyx Hunt, which is one of those hand-picked Vic Fangio picks. Howie Roseman says, hey, give me like 6-7 guys that you like, and I'll do the rest. And Jalyx Hunt was one of the top prospects for Vic Fangio, hand-picked, which is great because you always like to see your coordinator, especially the Vic Fangio scheme. We have the best guy for the job to run this scheme, and to pick a guy that, as much as I thought Will Shipley probably would have been a higher pick this year, I thought Jalyx Hunt was a big mystery to me on why him, small school, and thinking that he could do a lot more, because when it comes to his bend, it comes to his rush, he's very good. Open space for his size, his speed for his size, it's all there. But obviously putting the pads on is going to be a different thing. This is really important because not only does it go into this year, because you have guys, this is for the future too, because Josh Sweat's going to leave after this year, after a restructured 14 million fully guaranteed deal. Brandon Graham's going to retire. You know what I mean? Nolan Smith is a big question mark right now. Okay, big question mark, because I don't know what they're doing. I didn't hear much out of OTAs. I didn't hear much out of camp from Nolan Smith. So you signed Bryce Huff to big money, okay? And you're really putting a lot of emphasis into him, off of a very deep rotation with the Jets on only 43% of the snaps. So he's getting a lot of snaps off of only one 10-sack season, double-digit sack season. So Jalyx Hunt, in my opinion, I think is going to be definitely one of the big stories to watch, especially guys that are coming from small schools that relatively get drafted pretty high. And for a third-round pick, that's pretty damn high, okay, for a guy coming from a small school. And, we'll see what happens. But I'm excited about Jalyx Hunt, and because of what he's going to bring to this team, and I feel like he's got pushback attitude. He's got a really good mentality, and I heard a lot of good things about his mentality, getting prepared before games, and just how he is. And he's a big he causes destruction, and what do you have, 6.5 sacks last year, something like that. But I think is going to be more productive. Maybe won't be as productive in the sacks, but as a productive player, as a more balanced off ball to edge guy, I think you're going to be a little bit more productive there just because, HaasonReddick only gave you one thing. And it would only happen once in a while because HaasonReddick was a streaky player. One month he'll have 6 sacks, another month he'll have nothing. You know what I mean? So, and obviously in pass coverage, HaasonReddick is horrible, okay? But I think with Jalyx Hunt, it's going to be a different story. You might not have double-digit sacks with him, but I think you're going to get a guy that's going to be mainly productive in off-ball coverage, and I think he'll get after the quarterback and do some good things and be disruptive. So that's what we're kind of hoping. So I think this is one of the most exciting, most mystery-type players that I just have a feeling if Vic Fangio thinks he's got something, then maybe I should feel pretty good about it. But, we'll see what happens down the road once we get into training camp, joint practice with the Patriots, and get into these preseason games. I think Jalyx Hunt is going to be definitely one of the guys to definitely watch. Number 2 on the list, John Ross, obviously, 9th overall pick in 2017. It just didn't really pan out. I mean, just had a, really short career, only played till 2021. He was with the Kansas City Chiefs, didn't work out. But going into camp for the Philadelphia Eagles and obviously telling us a little backstory and why he came back and what's going on. Obviously, Devontae Parker retired, which helped John Ross, get on the roster. And I think with something like a move like this is interesting because he didn't want to retire. He thought retiring was a big mistake. And, it's a lot of pressure when you're a top 10 pick and you could definitely lose confidence pretty quick, depending how good your mentality is. Like if you feel like you're just falling off, sometimes it gets you down. And I feel like, him having a son, coaching his football team, and his son was the main reason why he came back into the NFL. So John Ross is really making a comeback. Now, since OTAs to training camp, no full pads, OTAs to minicamp, no full pads, he's been getting a lot of attention. Constant separation. Even when the ball's not thrown to him, he's getting separation. He's getting a lot of reps on special teams when it comes to kick return. The kickoff rule is different now, so he'll have more opportunity there on special teams. But seeing from some of the activities he has been doing in minicamp and OTAs, does he still have the speed at 27, 28 years old? Yeah, he still does. I mean, he definitely has some wheels on him still. But wide receiver 3 is definitely is going to be a big competition. Okay. Anaya Smith, I pretty much have him taking the job, but there's a really good chance that John Ross could be used as that third down, gadget wide receiver. They can use him on pre-snap motion and use his speed. And obviously Kellen Moore figuring out weaknesses to the defense and using that pre-snap motion to kind of throw defenses off with all these great weapons we have offensively. So need to see more from John Ross and see how his camp goes, but it looks like he's out for a vengeance and ready to go and do his thing. And he's definitely one of the most exciting players because I didn't think he would even be looked at all. I didn't think he was going to get signed after Devontae Parker retired. I didn't think that he was going to show much of anything going into camp. And it looks like, the coach is starting to turn their heads a little bit because, we're going to find out. We're going to find out, what he's going to do. But I think he's one of the most exciting stories coming into camp. And imagine having John Ross having a good career at the Eagles and they sign him after this year and he gets a lot of playing time this year. Like, just imagine that. I mean, just crazy. Anaya Smith will be back fully by training camp. He was, Anaya Smith missed most of OTAs in training camp. He only practiced like the last day of training camp on the third last day. So I think there's a lot there, obviously with Paris Campbell and, Britton Covey and some of these other guys. I think it's going to be the one thing they brought in, guys, is pure speed. They have a lot of speed at wide receiver, which is great. Which you can use it for like I said, the pre-snap motion. You can use it for special teams. So guys could do more than one thing on this team. And John Ross has got a major ceiling here. It's years later. He's 27, 28 years old, but he wants to prove himself. And, he's got a chip on his shoulder. There's no doubt that, everyone's going to write him off and he wants to prove that he could still play after taking a few years off, and we'll see what happens. So I think he's definitely one of the most exciting players to watch come this training camp. Third on the list, Mekhi Becton. Mekhi Becton, we all know he's got the talent. I mean, when we signed him on top of, Dylan McMahon and Matt Hennessy and, some of these other guys, Trevor Keegan, I mean, it's amazing how many offensive linemen you had. Look what Jeff Stoutland's done with this room. Look what he's turned Jordan Mailata into. Look what, he's bringing in guys that play multiple positions and plays multiple positions well. It feels like the Eagles have the best depth they've probably ever had in years. But once we get into camp to see how all these guys do and where they line up and who starts first in preseason and second team, second team, third team, you name it. Mekhi Becton is, thinks the Eagles are family, thinks that, he's happier with the Eagles than he was with the Jets. And I think things went sour with the Jets. They tried to turn him from a left tackle to a right tackle for a few years. Some injuries have hindered him a little bit, but from all the good things I've heard from Lane Johnson saying, man, if he stays at guard, he could be something. And they can't imagine him not starting on the line, or, he's been very active. He's pretty much been the main backup at every position besides center. He's pretty much been the main guy, the main backup playing on both sides. First, he got signed. He was supposed to be the swing tackle. And then we heard news, that he was going to be competing for that right guard spot. And I'm telling you, he looks really good. And like I said, no full pads, so they're not physically hitting people. They're using bags. But we saw what Mekhi Becton did last year. I mean, he was throwing people around the last couple of years. Even last year, he did really well too. So this could be, 25, 26. Young. Really young. A first-round talent to Jeff Stoutland University. Just imagine what he could do. You'll be set for years. This is a guy that could play right guard right now for this year. And then when Lane Johnson retires, he could push out the right tackle. And then you got Tyler Steen, you got Keegan, you got Dylan McMahon, you got Matt Hennessy, you got all these guys. That I think, that right guard spot should be great. Should be fine. They signed that veteran guy from the Bengals. I forgot his name. A veteran, 20. I forgot how old he is, but another late veteran player that they signed. So I think they got a lot of offensive linemen in camp. Yes, you're going to have a lot of players at every position at camp, but you want to get this right with Lane Johnson kind of retiring in a couple years. But what we're focusing on is the right guard position right now. And yes, you want to focus on if Lane Johnson goes down, just say, because Lane Johnson, I'll have to say, has not been healthy the last few years, between ankle injuries, the abdominal injuries, the ankle injuries constantly, consecutively every single year. So you have guys now that are going to have so if the Eagles lose a specific player, say Lane Johnson goes down for a few weeks, or you're not going to make Lane Johnson play on a bad ankle for weeks and weeks and weeks until he can't play on it anymore, and then he has to be on IR. You have guys that are going to switch over to right tackle, and I think Mekhi Becton is going to be your safety blanket, not only at right guard, but could be your guy at right tackle if anything goes wrong. So Mekhi Becton, came to Philadelphia, which I didn't know, because some guys just go to any team just to have a job and get paid. Dude, some guys just don't care. Mekhi Becton went to the Eagles because he liked the personnel here. Number two, he really liked Jeff Stoutland, and this is the best offensive line coach in the league. And what he's done with these players is absolutely amazing. So I think this is one of the biggest, the most exciting for me. Mekhi Becton, we know he's got the first round talent in him. Okay, he's got it. There's no we're trying to get it out of him. We're trying to get it out of him. He's got the talent. The only issue is just keeping him healthy. And that's, and just giving him what he wants and what they, using him how they know that they can use him, and him being happy and putting him in the best successful position that you could put Mekhi Becton in. That's what it's all about. The Jets have seemed to pull and pry him back and forth, try to get him to right tackle for the past few years, and it just seems like he just hasn't had a good time with New York. So this man, telling you, he thinks he has a big advantage playing guard. So I'm trying to say is, whatever makes sense, because we have to see more. The pads aren't on yet, but Mekhi Becton is a big, promising talent that could get a contract after this year. Might not get a big contract. That's the only good thing about it. So if he plays well this year and he starts and plays well, he might not get a huge contract because it's just 1 year with the Eagles, but it might be a little cheaper that the Eagles could afford him for the next few years would be great. So I'm rooting for Mekhi Becton all the way and can't wait to see more. Now, my next one is another offensive lineman. My last one is Trevor Keegan. Okay, obviously 3-year starter for Michigan, national championship winner. Has played center, multiple guard spots. Didn't give up a sack last year, and is Philadelphia. I mean, his mentality is great. He's a Philadelphian already. And this is another guy hasn't even played in OTAs in training camp yet, so he's been hurt. I don't know what he's had. He's had some little tiny injury, and I just think they weren't rushing with him. He's obviously the 5th-round pick for us, so this is another guy that believable. He could start at right guard this year. We haven't. We'll see what Tyler Steen does and some of these other guys. Mekhi Becton, like we just talked about, but Trevor Keegan is definitely another prospect here that he's tough, he's physical, he's got great leverage with his. He's got he's great with his hands. We'll see what happens with him. So can't have enough offensive linemen, and obviously a guy that's a national champion and can really make a big difference here. I think is going to be awesome. So I think with Trevor Keegan and what he's brought to this team, as much as he hasn't played during OTAs and training camp, I think he's going to really add. He's going to make the competition a lot harder for the other guys, and I can't wait to see more once we get, like I said, the joint practices, the preseason games, see where they line him up at, see where they feel comfortable with him, and obviously it will be right guard. But interesting to know if they put him anywhere else besides that, if they want to cross train, because they're going to be guys that aren't starting are going to be playing multiple positions during camp. They're going to try to throw guys around a little bit. So Trevor Keegan definitely up there. But other than that, guys, that's pretty much it. So these are like my top guys that I'm really excited about. These are like the main stories that are the low ball players that aren't ranked high on this team right now that we're going to see them climb up and see if they can climb up. And I think that's going to be the biggest difference going into training camp. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. But guys, if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel, like the video. If you guys have, it does help the channel tremendously. If you guys haven't checked out the Philly Shakedown podcast merch, we have sizes up to 6XL. We have youth t-shirts. We have women t-shirts as well. And we're going to have some big surprises really soon, and a big drop of a few things of merch before the season starts. And I think you guys are going to be really happy with it. So we're working really hard at it and doing our thing. And link in the description for all that great stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. Let me know, what is your favorite player, your underdog storied player that you're really focusing on? Like your first, give me a list of your top 3, your top 4, your top 5. I don't care who it is. But let me know in the comment section below. And I will see you guys on the next one. Shicks, what up, follow slide. Peace out, guys. Peace.